Hey everyone, this is Ra with Code Academy. I'm a software developer based out of Seattle, Washington. In this video, we're going to walk through the C# project, Caesar Cipher. So far, we've learned the basics of working with arrays in C#. To complete this project, you'll need to be familiar with how to build arrays, how to access array values, how to edit arrays, and how to use the array class built-in method indexOf. Alright, let's get started. In our project, Caesar Cipher, we're going to imagine that you are a member on a team and you're building out a project for a hackathon. And with one day left, your competitors are getting desperate. You find out that they've been reading your team's emails. So, as the team's C# expert, you've been asked to create a cipher. Specifically, you're going to implement the Caesar cipher. You can click on this link to get more information about the Caesar cipher. Essentially, to use the cipher, you draw the alphabet in a circle like so from A to Z, and you take every letter of your message and you shift it 3 places to the right. So for example, A, if we move 3 places to the right, is the letter D. B would be E, and C would be F. So for example, the word attack, when we've encrypted it with the Caesar cipher, becomes a nonsensical word DWWDFN. Alright. Your teammates will be able to decrypt your message by reversing the process, by shifting each letter 3 places to the left. Now for this project, you're going to need to be able to do a couple things. You're going to need to be able to convert strings to an array of characters. We'll do this with the toChar array method. So here we see an example of how to convert a string into an array of characters. We have a variable message string of type string, which is set to the string Brutus. Now, to turn the string into an array of characters, we simply call the toChar array method. This will result in an array filled with characters BRUTUS instead of a string. Later in our project, we will want to convert an array of characters back into a string. So if we have a message array filled with the characters BRUTUS, and we want to convert this into a string, we simply use the string.join method. The first argument is a separator that will be inserted between each character, in this case, an empty string. And the second argument is the array that we want to join together into a string. And the result will be our string Brutus. Okay, let's get started. First, we want to prepare for encryption. In step 1, we're going to build the encryption tool as an interactive console app. So we're first going to ask the user for a secret message and store the result in the variable. So let's use a console.writeLine to let the user know what information we're asking for. This can be anything you would like. I'm just going to say, enter your secret message. And we want to capture the input that the user provides. And we're going to go ahead and save it to a variable. We'll call it input of type string. And we'll use the console.readLine method to capture this. So I always like to test my code as I go through a project. So I'm going to go ahead and use console.writeLine. And I'm going to pass in our input to make sure that we've captured it from the user as we would expect. So I'll save our code. And then in the terminal, we'll go ahead and run our code with .NET run. And we can see our message, enter your secret message. And I'll just say, hello world. And we see line 13 writes that content back to the terminal. So we've captured our user input just as we would expect. Okay, we can go ahead and remove line 13. And we can mark step 1 as complete. Now we'll move on to step 2. We want to convert the captured string to an array of characters and store the results in a new variable called secret message. Okay, so this is going to be a character array, and we're going to name it secret message. And we want to take a string and convert it to an array of characters. Now, if we go back to our example, we can see that we simply name our string, and then we call the toChar array method. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll name our string input, and then we'll call the toChar array method. Perfect. Let's go ahead and mark step 2 as complete, and we'll move on to step 3. And to give ourselves a little bit more space, I'm going to move the terminal over just a little bit. Okay, now we're going to create an empty array of characters to hold our encrypted message. So this will be a character array, and we'll name it encrypted message. And remember, we need to set the length of our array, even though we're not occupying it with our encrypted message at this point. So we'll say new car, and then to get the right length, we'll take our secret message array, and we'll get the length of it. Awesome. And just to make sure that we've done this correctly, I'm going to do a console.writeLine, and I'm going to pass in secret message.length, and I'm going to do the same and pass in encrypted message.length. Now I'll save the code, and I'll clear out the terminal and run our code. I'll input the phrase hello world, and we can see both the secret message array and encrypted message array have a length of 11. I'll clear out my terminal, and then I'll remove lines 17 and 18 as we were just using those for testing purposes. Let's mark step 3 as complete, and we'll move on to step 4. We're going to work on encrypting our message. And this means we're going to need to perform encryption on every letter in our message. And to loop through every character in our array, we're going to go ahead and use a for loop. So we'll start by creating an empty for loop. So for is our keyword, and then a variable I of type int. We'll set equal to 0. This is our iterator variable, and we want this to run as long as I is less than secret message dot length. So if the user inputted the phrase hello world, then we would continue looping through our array as long as I is less than 11. And then finally, each iteration should increment by 1. Now I'll go ahead and open up the code block, and we can mark step 4 as complete. Now in step 5, we're going to start working within our for loop. We want to access the character at position I in secret message. We'll go ahead and store this in a variable of type car. And we'll go ahead and name our variable letter, and we'll set letter equal to secret message at index of I. So if our phrase was hello world and I starts at 0, then secret message, which is an array containing the characters in hello world at index of 0, would be H. So H would be assigned to letter. So let's mark step 5 as complete, and we'll move on to step 6. Now we want to find the position of our letter in the alphabet array, and we'll go ahead and store this in a variable. So because we're looking for an index position, this is going to be of type int, because we're looking for a number, letter position, and we'll set this equal to array.indexOf, and this is going to take 2 arguments. The first is our array, so alphabet, and we see that alphabet up above is an array containing the alphabet from A to Z. And then our second argument is going to be the character that we're trying to find the index of in the alphabet. So this is letter. So to talk through our example, again, if we provided the phrase hello world as a secret message, and hello world was turned into an array of characters, and we started with I of 0, then secret message of 0 is the character H, so letter would be set to the character H, and then we would be searching the alphabet for the character H. So if we look up at our alphabet array, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we can imagine that our letter position is set to the value of the integer 7. Let's mark step 6 as complete, and we'll move on to step 7. Now we just want to add 3 to our letter position to encrypt our letter. So we'll create a variable new letter position of type int, and we'll simply set that to letter position plus 3. Remember, A becomes D, B becomes E, and C becomes F. So in this case, H at index of 7 is going to become K at index of 10. So let's go ahead and do that in step 8. We want to find the new encrypted character by getting the character in the alphabet array with that new position. So we're going to create a variable, type char, and we'll call this letter encoded, and set that equal to our alphabet array at index of new letter position. Perfect. Let's mark step 8 as complete, and we'll move on to step 9. In step 9, we want to take this encrypted letter, or this letter encoded, and we want to add it to our array encrypted message. Remember, we set encrypted message as an array equal to the length of secret message array, and we'll store the character at the index of I. So encrypted message at index of I is equal to letter encoded. All right, let's mark step 9 as complete and we'll move on to step 10. Our loop is now finished and we're going to work on testing and improving our program. Our next step in step 10 is to convert our array of encrypted characters back into a readable string that we can print to the console. So we'll create a variable encoded string of type string. And remember, when we started our project, we saw that how we can convert an array back into a string. We call the join method, and we pass in an empty string, and then the name of our array. So string.join, we'll pass in an empty string, and our second argument is our array encrypted message. All right, perfect. All right, now we want to print this to the console. So we'll say console.writeLine. And now we'll use string interpolation. Your encoded message is, and then in our curly braces, we'll pass in encoded string. Okay, let's mark step 10 as complete. And in step 11, we'll go ahead and run our code. Let's make sure that we've saved it in our terminal. .NET run. And we'll have the user pass in the information. Hello? And we can see that our encoded message is KHOOR. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and try this with another word. We'll have the user input the word citizen. And when we run our code, we see that we get a problem. We have an unhandled exception. We can see the index was outside the bounds of the array. And we can see the problem happened somewhere along line 22. Our problem was with the letter Z. When we tried to find the index of it in the alphabet array, it was at the index of 25. So 25 plus 3 is 28. So on line 22, when we tried to encode the letter Z at alphabet at index of 28, there was nothing there. We were outside the bounds of the array. Okay, let's look at how to fix this in step 12. I'm going to go ahead and clear out the terminal. Now we've already discussed what went wrong. Now the solution to this is that we can wrap around by using the modulo operator. And by wrapping around, we can go back to this image of A to Z. So we want X to wrap around to A, Y to wrap around to B, and Z to wrap around to C. And so we can do that by surrounding our expression letter position plus 3 on line 21 inside of parentheses, and then use the modulo operator and take the modulo of 26. So the modulo is going to give us the remainder. So in the case of Z, which was index 25 plus 3, which is 28, 28 modulo 26 leaves us with a remainder of 2. So that's the index of 2 in our alphabet array, which is the letter C. So I think that's exactly what we needed to do. So we'll mark step 12 as complete, and in step 13, we'll go ahead and test our code again with citizen. .NET run, and we'll test the word citizen, and it converts to FLWLCHQ. So our letter Z did convert to the letter C, just as we would expect. Okay, we'll mark step 13 as complete, and now it's time to think about extensions. You've done a great job in building an automatic encryption engine that your team can use to communicate in secrecy. Other teams will no longer be able to spy on you during your hackathon. However, there's a few things you could do to improve your app. The app doesn't work with uppercase letters. If we run our program again and pass in hello in uppercase, we get some really unexpected results. So we could fix that by converting any message to lowercase. We could run our program again and see that if we give a message of hello with an exclamation mark, we get the letter C for the exclamation mark, which wouldn't be helpful for our teammates to decode our message. So we might want to build in some logic to skip any symbols in our loop so that they are not encrypted. You also might consider rewriting the loop as a method encrypt, which takes a character array and key and returns an encrypted character array. You could also write a decrypt method, which takes a character array and key and returns a decrypted character array. Alright, great job building up this program. We got a lot of experience with building arrays, accessing their values, and editing arrays, and even taking advantage of array class built-in methods. Great job. This is Rob with Codecademy. Happy coding.